Okay, so Julienne, you got in touch with this great idea, slightly borrowed, I think, from Desert Island Discs, that we could,
Maybe, yeah.
a little bit, that we could interview lots of people at Townfield and say, if you were stuck on a desert island, what are the things that would help you keep going with God? And it seemed like a great idea. So I thought you came up with the idea. You're the obvious person to ask to try out as the first person.
Well, that wasn't my plan.
I'm sure it wasn't, but it's what happened. So thanks for coming up with the idea, and thanks for being our guinea pig. I'm just going to ask you three very simple questions. And the first of those questions is, of course, we all know on Desert Island Discs, everybody has a Bible automatically. So from that Bible that you're given, which verse or verses are ones that you think you'd keep going back to?
Okay, well, this was really hard because I think for me, I don't know about other people, but for me, the Bible's really dynamic. So a favourite verse becomes the favourite verse because of the context we're in at the time, and that changes. So my favourite verse from probably a couple of years ago was probably it's probably one that I do kind of go back to. So and it is so it's two verses rather than just one. It's Psalm 130 verses 5 to 6. I wait for the Lord, my soul waits, and is in his word my soul waits for the Lord, more than the watchman for the morning, more than the watchmen for the morning. So that is the verses that I would probably say I kind of like the most and seem to speak to me in most situations.
And is there something about those verses that speaks to you?
Well, again, it's about this context, isn't it? So I first came across those, probably they jumped out at me when I was working through a book about praying by J.I. Packer, and it was on the bit about hanging on. And it was just a chapter about the fact that actually not always goes well. You can feel sometimes distant from God, but waiting on him because he hasn't moved, he's still there, and it's about sitting and being with him and waiting to feel his presence, I think. So it's just about being with God, being in his presence, I think, was the bit that I liked about it, even when many things are.
Great, thank you. You were breaking up a little bit there, but let's plough on anyway, because the broadband's really being stretched by everybody at the moment. I think we got the gist.
Yes.
So what worship hymn or worship song do you think you would keep singing in your head on your desert island?
This was the easiest one. So In Christ Alone, which I just love the depth of that and all the lyrics. The song is lovely. It's one of the ones that's really easy to sing in church because it doesn't try to go too high and too low. It's really nice. It always, and it's kind of, it feels like a proper deep hymn, and the lyrics are just amazing. So something lines in that about, and I think it's about that narrative of the whole of the message of God as well. So when you sing that, you're singing the whole of the narrative that God is for us. So in Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God and helpless babe, all the way through to what he did for us on the cross. But it's the starting bit, isn't it? In Christ alone, my hope is my light, my strength, my song. The cornerstone is solid ground, which at the moment just feels really relevant. So when you asked if I would do this, I went and played that, and it just always kind of lifts me up.
Great. And is there a book other than the Bible that you'd take with you to your desert island? You're only allowed one that would help you.
Okay. Well, it's not a Christian book at all, actually, but it is a book that I love to read because it's about being human in situations that are volatile and different, and just how, even when the world is falling about all around you, being human is the same at all different times and in all different places. So it's a bit rubby. Wild Swans by Jung Yang, and it's about 3 different generations of females in China and how they lived through all of that. And it is, I suppose, it's not a Christian book, but it is just about the human condition doesn't change, and the human situation doesn't change regardless of what's going on out there. And that I suppose that God is therefore still the same regardless of what's going on out there.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Julienne, for being our first desert island person. I'm sure we can find a legal... Sorry?
I hope the connection's better for you next time.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll be able to find a link to a legal version of In Christ Alone, and we can put that at the top of this so people can now listen to that song. And hopefully lots of other people will now volunteer to also be interviewed about if they were stuck on a desert island. Thanks very much for taking part, Julienne.
Or in isolation, avoiding people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julienne.
Thank you. Bye.